And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, May 20th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But first, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how did your projection for Daniel Theis look?
It looked great because I didn't project him to play, just like anybody with a brain, except for Antoine Murphy.
Yes, exactly. I have like an overarching question for you on a slate like this. I assume you didn't hit like a stray bullet or anything, given our conversations on Slack during the game.
No, I played a bunch of PJ Tucker and then he got hurt.
Okay. On days like this, or on slate games like this, especially in this sort of showdown sense, if there's a major blowout, are you generally speaking not going to have a good day?
Yeah, because I'm
not going to have you're inevitably going to get one or two guys that benefit that were never really going to be on your radar in order to win whatever contest that is.
Right. And I do think I actually had like 5% Theis yesterday. I think I gave him like 4 minutes just in case. But no, I mean, I'm definitely not like projecting blowouts. And I mean, like Duncan Robinson. PJ Tucker got hurt. Cool. Like, I'm not going to win with Duncan Robinson then.
No, I don't. Follow-up question to this then. And I don't even really know how to ask it, but we've got a ton of time, so I can stumble my way through it. Are those types of lineups good lineups before the slate starts?
They can be.
You know where I'm going with this, right? Like, what is the mechanism to get to that? Do you just have to assume? I mean, I guess it's like anything else. You're just going to take a beating more often than not, the more you're going to it, but be paid off better when it wins.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a balancing act. Like, it's difficult in NBA to find ways to be contrarian that aren't like, in single game NBA to find ways to be contrarian that aren't insane. I do think that the guys like Theis, Duncan Robinson, I played Josh Green the other day, just hoping, maybe he would move back ahead of Ntilikina in the rotation, even though I didn't think that was the most likely case. There are cases to be made where it's just like, this isn't going to happen frequently, but when it does, you get paid better. The issue is that it's not that cut and dry. Like, you can say, you can look at it and say, again, using like the Josh Green fight Ntilikina example, if Josh Green plays 6 minutes instead of Ntilikina, like that ownership discount's really nice, but you still have to get the rest of the lineup right too. It's not like you just win every time Josh Green steps on the floor. And to get the lineup right, like either you're just like jamming Josh Green into every lineup, which is not where you want to be, or you still have to get really freaking lucky even once he gets on the floor. So that's kind of the issue. But within any one given lineup, those guys can make sense. Like, if you do just have what is a really chalky lineup, and then instead of Caleb Martin, you play Duncan Robinson because you're like, whatever, this lineup's going to dupe 800 times with Caleb Martin, I'll just play Duncan Robinson. In that case, it makes sense. But from like a portfolio standpoint, I think it's still really difficult to be like, oh yeah, the edge on this slate is that this guy not in the rotation somehow plays.
Right. I think in these scenarios, and maybe this is just in my head, you can kind of make one stand like that. You can't really go much further than a second. You're basically trying to figure out who that guy is going to be. Like, if you want to make it the Josh Green one, you're probably not doing whatever's on the opposite side of that. You're also not trying to hit Kuminga or Bjelica or something on the opposite side. For this one, like, if you wanted to go to Theis, you're probably not going to Theis and Duncan Robinson. Like, it's you're basically just swapping a 1-for-1 somewhere. But I look at the slates like this, but by the time, like, I opened up the box score before I opened up the DraftKings app, because obviously I went to bed before this game ended, and I woke up and I saw everything that had happened. I was like, all right, well, Duncan Robinson's going to end up being in the optimal lineup, and he's barely going to be duped. And I know that I did not win on this slate because there's no way that I was expecting a full fourth quarter of garbage.
Right. And one other point, I think, because like I to give Antoine credit, I do agree with what he's saying as far as playing to win and not to min cash.
Yeah.
And that, that's what we were just saying too, as far as like the payoffs are better when you go to guys like that. The thing you have to keep in mind though, and it's I don't really have a good way to phrase it. It can get really expensive to, for lack of a better way to say it, like try and win every slate. Like to try and say, like, oh, well, if this 1% thing happens, maybe I get first place, but otherwise I'm going to lose all of my buy-ins. That gets extremely expensive
Yeah.
extremely quickly. So like
Yeah.
you do have to keep in mind that you're actually trying to win over the course of a season, not like you're trying to profit on NBA for the season. Obviously, you're trying to win every slate that you play, but you're not. It's not like you have this is the only day that you have to have money for. This is the only slate that you're ever going to play, and you should just be going balls to the wall, like you know trying to get first place today. Like
Right.
so I don't really know how to phrase that perfectly, but like you do want to be generally making good lineups and not
Yeah.
worrying as much about like, oh well, this is going to lose me money like 999 out of 1,000 times, but one time maybe it does well.
Like I think that uh, it's really difficult to go back and try to analyze the slate like this. Other than I think it's just you look at it and you think to yourself, today's not a day that I can win.
Yeah, so this is kind of because I don't play a lot of Showdown outside of like this time of the year. So I'm not as confident in my strategies as like I am in uh, on regular slates. And after the first Boston Miami game, where you had Smart out and Horford out, I noticed that I played like the four most duped lineups, and I just had a bunch of dupe lineups. I only had like 3 unique lineups, period. And I was like, all right, maybe I need to change something up. But I kind of went back through and looked, and I looked at like what Alex had done, and he was in a similar situation. And I kind of just thought about that slate, and I was like, you know what? I think this was just a really shitty slate for Showdown because of the late news. It just kind of forced you onto teams that were going to be really popular, but you didn't have good alternatives because it basically would just mean playing, Derek White over Jaylen Brown or something, which
Yeah.
makes no sense. So I was kind of like, okay, well, that's just a slate that I think, yes, obviously you're not trying to, duplicate first place 900 ways, but there kind of wasn't a way around it. And then I looked at what I had done the first Dallas game, and I had a bunch of unique lineups. And I played some dupe lineups too, obviously. And like Alex and I talked about this too. If you're playing 150 lineups, I don't mind that I have the most dupe lineups in there because it's tough to make 150 good lineups on a 1 game slate. Like they're
Yeah.
just going to show up. But looking towards the bottom, like I had a lot of unique lineups too, and so I was going to pull it up now. I haven't, but I'm assuming I
If you're
probably
looking up
had.
last night, it's not there.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I'm assuming I probably had a decent number of unique or minimally duped lineups yesterday. It's just that they didn't happen to do well.
Yeah.
But my point being, if I can make lineups that, yeah, and I know I did on the Dallas slate, but like if I can make lineups that aren't duped, and I guess some of them probably had Josh Green, but if you can make lineups that aren't duped or that are duped, 2 or 3 times, and you can do that without playing somebody that is projected for 0 minutes, those lineups are going to be better over the long run, even though it's obviously very nice to look back at one game and say like, oh, if I had just played Duncan Robinson, like if you were able to make a unique lineup yesterday that didn't have Duncan Robinson, that was automatically better than one that did have Duncan Robinson.
Without question. That's a really good point. And like those lineups are out there too. Like it wasn't going to be hard. I mean, I know like whatever Martin is on the Heat. Might as well be the same person. I legitimately was about to say Cody. Like for Caleb Martin, I mean, his ownership wasn't anything crazy. That was a pretty easy path to do it. It didn't ultimately work out, but I mean, that game was just a brutal ass beating. When Greg and I ended the stream last night, it was 15-7 Heat. I got a drink and went to the bathroom and went downstairs, and all of a sudden the game was basically like tied again. I was talking to my wife for a little bit, and then I looked back up and Boston was up like 15. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, they went on brutal. They basically just did the opposite of what Miami had done to them previously. I think it was like a 24-3 run or something.
Yeah, it was brutal. What do we, since we might as well do a recap, I should have just put that shit in the run sheet. What do we do with Bam?
I don't know.
Is there just not enough spacing on the floor for him right now to get to like the spots that he needs? Because his offensive participation is, I mean, he was 3 for 6 from the field yesterday. He should just find 6 shots.
I mean, it's their normal lineup though. It shouldn't be a spacing issue. I mean, it's Vincent over Lowry, but it's the same thing. Like, but he's also like getting pulled away from the basket, so you're getting PJ Tucker grabbing rebounds too, which is hurting.
I think, yeah. I mean, I guess it is. Look, 26 minutes out of Victor Oladipo is going to kill your spacing. Him not being
it
Duncan
wasn't
Robinson's the
Oladipo
problem.
thing. I mean, this was like watching the
No.
first
I mean,
quarter.
just like in general, like they are playing slightly less spacing lineups.
Yeah, but like game
than they
one,
normally
Oladipo
do.
only played 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like Lowry's going to get a different level of respect than Gabe Vincent no matter what.
Sure.
Even if Gabe Vincent, you can consider Gabe Vincent like the same shooter. I don't know. I can't get a good feel for it.
Like he's just my issue is he's not touching the ball. Like period. He's not rebounding. Like I said, he's playing away from the basket a bit. You're getting PJ Tucker sliding in to grab rebounds. I was watching like in the first quarter, so I had a lot of Bam yesterday, particularly at captain. And I had a lot of PJ Tucker, mostly utility, but also was well over the field at captain on PJ Tucker. So I'm watching the first quarter, and PJ Tucker, is just getting the ball, knocking down threes, hitting runners in the lane, grabbing rebounds. I'm like, oh, this is a great start, blah, blah, blah. And then like Bam, I think finally grabs a rebound, and I'm just like, oh shit, I forgot Bam was even playing. Like this is not going well for me. But like it literally took like 8 minutes for me to remember that like Bam was in the game that I was watching.
For all the slappies out there that think Tyler Hero is good during the regular season because he has the ball a lot and does things offensively from time to time, 24 minutes, a team high negative 33 plus minus because he gets picked on over and over and over defensively.
He did have a hell of a block that got taken away from him.
Certainly did. So that's why when I say that I don't think he's good, it's because he gets to the playoffs and isn't good. So enjoy that, folks. There's your Sixth Man of the Year award winner. Really illustrious.
He was his ass beat, but still didn't close.
I mean, I don't think it's possible for Tyler Hero to be good in a game because he's not going to be good defensively ever.
Well, and
like he's already starting at like, below average game. He just has to shoot the lights out to offset it.
Right. And like game one, he played about as well as he's going to play offensively and then still wasn't in the closing lineup.
Yeah, because he gets beat like a drum every time that he's out there. It's never going to get any better. So be ready for that, everybody. Anything else we could touch on from last night? It seems like I just kind of want to forget that it happened. For a brief moment, like at halftime, I was like, okay, if the Heat can mildly get back into this, like I might not have to worry about all the garbage coming in at the end of the game. And then sure enough,
I'd already got to
play 5 minutes.
Once PJ Tucker went out, I just turned the game off and went to bed.
Reasonable. Was there any news like Robert Williams played 20 minutes. Was that just this one's over, we can get him rest move? I didn't see anything about him, but 20 minutes seemed like oddly low.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play in the fourth quarter. He also didn't close the first half. They went with Grant Williams. I think it was a combination of him at times looking lost and also blowout.
Yeah. My assumption, I didn't notice that I saw anything, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything there. What do I base being good off of? Hero is solid, not saying he's great, but you think Gobert is good. So just curious. I want a guy that can be on the floor during real playoff series. Like they don't have a choice right now for Tyler Hero.
I think Gobert is good. Gobert is very good.
Yeah, like Tyler Hero is not going to ever win the Offensive Player of the Year award. Rudy Gobert is going to go down as like one of the 10 best defensive centers that have ever played basketball. We're talking about two dramatically different players. Like if Tyler Hero could have Rudy Gobert's career, he would be like many, many rungs up the ladder of what people think that he is. Tyler Hero is like the modern day Jordan Clarkson for a guy that's still in the league.
Yeah, which
that's his ceiling.
There's value to that.
Yeah,
but
it's in the regular season.
Yeah, or if you're playing from behind, like or playing in the third quarter of a game where you just got destroyed in the first half and you come back to win, like there's value there, but it's just kind of a cap ceiling. Yeah,
look, he is not a guy that can win a championship if he's one of your 3 best guys on the floor. He's going to have a hard time being in any closing lineup, barring the most elite wing talent and rim protecting center that you could find. We see it over and over again. Like in the bubble, like people think he was really good in the bubble. He was terrible. but he snarled once on camera and people really liked it. So we went forward with it. Anyway, let's talk this slate. What do you say? Hit that like button, everybody.
Yeah, if we have to.
Do you have any confidence in Dallas, just in general?
No.
I don't think that I do.
I mean,
but
like
Luka can do anything for me.
They have Luka.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not dead. They have Luka. But I think like they're good defensively. We knew that in the regular season. We've seen it in the postseason. I think that because of how the Phoenix series wrapped up with them just destroying Phoenix, that it's kind of gotten overlooked that they have a pretty shitty supporting cast around Luka. You know, not talking defensively, but just like from an offensive standpoint. You know, Brunson's good, Dinwiddie's fine, but like this isn't the best supporting cast, and now you're going up against a very, very good Golden State team where Luka really is going to have to just carry the load.
Yes, he is. It gets kind of crazy. So I ran my sims for FanDuel and DraftKings.
Bear gets ran off the court when it matters.
Do you know who's getting run off the court? Conley, Mitchell, Clarkson, Boyan, Royce O'Neal to an extent. They can't, the people that are getting run off the floor are the people that are getting left behind on the perimeter.
Right.
Apologies for not putting Gobert in 3 different places at once.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd like to. I had Luka. Luka came out of my sim on FanDuel today in 93% of lineups. He's like, is there a mechanism to get away from Luka on FanDuel that you can think of other than just injury?
Play Steph.
I guess. But even then, like, scary.
Oh yeah, like,
it's really hard for him to not be one of the 3 highest scorers on like a non-regular basis.
Yeah.
Because when he gets 55 fantasy points and gets a multiplier, like you can't run that down.
Right. And like we don't have ownership yet, but I'm assuming you're going to get a pretty big gap there. So that's why I said Steph. Like he can at least outscore Luka occasionally. I mean, you saw it last game. But like it's on FanDuel, you don't, because the pricing doesn't matter. You know, so it's not like you can say, okay, well, I'll just get a completely different lineup build and I'll go down to, I don't know, Maxey at captain, just the first name I thought of that was relatively cheap, and, you know, get a different lineup. Like, okay, cool. You're just, you literally need Maxey to beat Luka in that situation. Steph can at least do it, but you would still need a pretty big ownership gap for it to be worth it.
Yeah. He just does too much. Like the rebounds and the assists just help to buoy any like rough, what's the word I'm looking for? Any like rough shooting days. All right, let's talk through some of the stuff on the DK side. I assume we're on the same page here that like in the grand scheme of things, Luka is the preferred captain option and likely the cash captain option, unless somebody just has like a broken price that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I don't see any broken prices.
Yeah,
I said it last slate. I said it last slate, and obviously Curry beat him, but like I still think Luka's the most underpriced guy on DraftKings.
I don't think that's like a crazy take. I mean,
and it's not that he's like, I don't think he's underpriced. I think he's less overpriced than everybody else.
That's probably a good way to do it. But yeah, I mean, like what's the price tag right now?
13.6.
Okay, so I immediately was like, he's 20,400, but that was that's not the one. That's not the one. I was like, yeah, I don't know if he's underpriced anymore. 20K.
He costs half your salary. If you put him a captain, he's your entire team.
Yeah, you just play one guy. Man, would there? I'm not even having that conversation right now.
I do dislike that they got rid of the $200 price floor. Speaking of playing one guy, like
that's fair.
I liked that strategy where
you punt a spot, basically.
Yeah, where you could just take a 0 for $200.
I hadn't noticed that they did it, but I guess that I did realize yesterday that all of the ass end of the lineups were at 1,000.
Yeah, I
wonder why they did it.
I noticed it because the first strategy show when Lofty and I did it, I gave like a whole spiel about remember to set your fantasy cruncher minimum to 0 so that you at least, you know, if it's optimal to just punt a spot, you get it. And then I realized that guys not even active were the same price as like Caleb Martin. And I was like, okay, well, never mind, don't do that.
Michael Roundtree, I don't swear that Middleton is better than Butler. 2.5 years ago, I would like to have taken Middleton over Butler. Yes, Jimmy Butler is better than Chris Middleton now. I've said it for a year now. The narrative changed, man. Put it this way. Jimmy Butler's going to age like milk in this league. Be ready for it.
What?
It's not going to
He's
go
already
well.
aging and he's getting better.
When it goes, it's going to go. He has no additional things there's no shot to fall back on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was just saying, like, dude's already old.
Shooting in the mid-range and
poor.
drawing contact is not going to age well for him.
Yeah.
When it goes, it's going to go immediate. But no, I mean, he's exceptional. He's exceptional. I don't have anything else to say. We'll talk about him tomorrow. I won't. That's for sure. All right. If you're not putting Luka in the captain spot, I assume Steph would be your second priority. When I look at everything else, I'm not sure I have a third. I don't know how to separate Clay, Brunson, Wiggins, Draymond, Poole, Looney, Bullock. I don't know what to do after Luka and Steph. Do you have somebody that stands out to you as sort of like the third best option? Or if you don't like Steph, then feel free to correct me there too.
No, I mean, I do like Steph. As far as standing out, no, ownership will drive some of the decision making there. Like, obviously you're going to get a lot going to Luka at captain, then you're going to get Steph. If you get basically, I don't think there should be a big gap between Brunson, Green, Poole, Wiggins, Thompson. Like, if there is, if all of those guys are getting 5% except one of them's getting 2%, I like whichever one's getting 2%. I don't really care which one it is.
I'm with you on that one. The rest of this series just gets so dicey for me.
Wade was absolute garbage at the end of his career.
Yeah, that's why I responded. No, he wasn't. He was truly atrocious. The take was not horrible 3 years ago when Chris Middleton was putting up 34% usage rates when Giannis was off the floor as a two-way guy that could actually shoot and space the floor. You guys just don't.
All that's happening right now is people never realized how good healthy Chris Middleton was.
Correct. Now, I want to be clear here. The moment that I spoke that into existence, Chris Middleton fell off a cliff.
Right.
You could see it in many different stats. But at the time, Chris Middleton was a better player for the playoffs. You fit in more. Look, you got to build around Jimmy Butler specifically. You can put Chris Middleton on 29 other teams. It's that simple. Anyway, is there someone in this game that you think could be making a move into or back out of the rotation?
To your point, it is kind of funny that, and I don't know if it's the same people specifically, but like YouTube chat's always just like, why doesn't Oladipo play more? And then they're like, Jimmy Butler's great. It's like, because they can't coexist.
Right. Yeah. It's because Victor Oladipo shoots 27% from three, and so does Jimmy Butler. And that gets to be problematic when the 5 long Celtics can just stand around the paint. They'll give them those. They'll let Victor Oladipo shoot till the cows come home. They don't care at all. Probably the same sort of scenario for Jimmy Butler. Who's going to leave the rotation for game 2 or come into the rotation on either side? Like, do we get more Kuminga, or is this just not going to be his series? Do we get Josh Green now? Are you playing the Josh Green game in game 2 again? Is there something there? Or do you see a change coming?
I'm not really sure. So I do think Kuminga could play a role in this series, but with the way game 1 went, I don't know that it's this game. Like, I don't think they have any real incentive to throw Kuminga in there because Wiggins did such a good job, and as a team they did such a good job slowing Luka down. It's not like this is a game where they won but Luka went off. Like, they won and they held Luka. Luka's shoulder also did a pretty good job of restraining him, but that
rake across the face probably didn't help either.
What'd you say?
That rake across the face probably didn't help either.
So it's I don't view this as the game. Like, not to say that Steve Kerr is going to just be, say, oh, we won and stand pat, but I don't really know. Like, after game 1, it kind of feels like you'd be making an adjustment just to make an adjustment. Like, game 1 worked. So what are you trying to improve by playing Kuminga? So it's not like it's a 0% chance he plays or anything, but I'd feel more confident that they make a change. Like, if he doesn't play today and Luka goes out there and Luka has a game and even if Golden State wins, then I would think game 3 maybe you see more Kuminga out there for defensive reasons, to try and switch things up. But game 1 worked. Like, what are you trying to? Game 1 worked in the sense on Luka, not even saying like because they won. Like, they slowed down Luka. What are you changing?
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why Golden State would do anything. I don't know what Dallas can do. I don't think they have like a change that could be made that could really make a difference. You need Maxi Kleber to stay out of foul trouble right out of the gate. You need some shots to just fall. I mean, that they didn't in game one. You need that to just immediately happen. Are you reading into any of this like Luka was really sick after game one thing? Is that, I assume it's carrying zero weight for you today?
I hadn't even seen it.
Yeah, evidently he was up sick after game one. Maybe it was because they lost. I have no idea. Are you going to make the Josh Green move again?
Probably.
Okay.
So the thing is, I kind of think you could just not have Ntilikina or Green play. And I still think it's Ntilikina ahead of Green.
Yeah.
But the reason that I don't mind making that move, and it kind of somebody mentioned it in chat last game, and I agreed, and it almost happened here. Ntilikina played his 10 minutes and he got 1 fantasy point. Like, and it's not that Josh Green's a good point per minute guy either, but even if Ntilikina is still in the rotation and plays 8 minutes, he can very easily just do literally nothing. At least with Josh Green, like even if he doesn't play, he's probably doing just about the same thing that Frank Ntilikina did. And if he does somehow play, whether it's a few minutes of garbage time or whatever, he's just so much lower owned. So yeah, like obviously playing 1K Ntilikina is fine if you need to get there as well. I don't really want to get there. I certainly don't want to get to Josh Green. Like he's probably not going to play. But just with it being Ntilikina and him being such a bad point per minute guy, I still don't mind just making that ownership pivot.
Do you see anything else on Dallas that stands out to you? Or do we kind of just know what we're getting out of this team? Like to me, there's not much else we can say about Dorian Finney-Smith. There's not much else we could say about Reggie Bullock. I think we kind of know exactly what's going on with Jalen Brunson at this point. Maybe you think Spencer Dinwiddie is some sort of wild card for game 2. He's 6,800. I don't even think he's priced like we're in a good, like he needs a lot more in order to become viable.
The one thing for Dallas is their rotation kind of sucked last game. Why is Dinwiddie playing 23.5 minutes and not 30?
I don't know.
Why is Kleba only playing 19?
Foul trouble for Kleba for a bit.
Yeah. That's true. I forgot. Yeah, in the first half he had foul trouble. Yeah, I mean Powell once again played 14. I thought maybe he'd play a little bit more, but yeah. So that's kind of the one thing for me. Oh, and Bertans only played with minus garbage time. He played 8 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if you found a way for either Dinwiddie to play more. And granted, if that game had been competitive, you probably do get an extra 5 minutes from Dinwiddie, and he gets to like 28 anyway. But Bertans at 2,400 certainly could play more, especially if he's knocking down shots. So I do still like the Bertans value piece, just because his role. The reason I like Bertans, even though he's more expensive, the reason I like Bertans more than Ntilikina is, even though like projection wise they're similar and Ntilikina is cheaper and all of that, there's no world where Dallas is putting Ntilikina on the floor saying, okay, I hope he sparks our offense and things go well. Bertans' job is to actually score points. He's not very good at it, and he doesn't play a lot of minutes, but he's at least out there to score. Ntilikina is out there to play defense and then get the hell off the floor, hopefully without having cost them too much offensively. So, Bertans is just the one where it's like, if he does his job, or gets hot, he can not only play his way into a few more minutes, but he can just very quickly have 12 fantasy points or 12 actual points on 4 threes, and he is the best value immediately as soon as that happens. So I do kind of like Bertans a little bit more, just because his job on this team is actually fantasy conducive, at least.
We're going to read off maybe the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a chat. Gobert is the rich man's Dwight Powell.
Wow.
I mean, it's not even right in the terms that like they don't even do the same things.
Right.
They're like they're opposite players to begin with. I mean, I don't even know what to do with that one. Dude, that's like picking 2 names out of a hat, as far as I'm concerned.
Gobert would never leave the floor if he was on Dallas.
No, never. Never. But we don't need to talk about how good Gobert is. We could talk about how good this promo code is. That would be NBA Strategy Show, one gigantic word, NBA strategy show. Player projections, ownership projections, our lineup builder, Discord, and more. If you are a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, you can get all of that for 50% off your first month. And that's for every sport. That's not just for basketball, even though I'm talking about it from a basketball perspective. It's everything. Every sport that we offer, every single piece of content that we offer behind the paywall, you can get that using that promo code NBA Strategy Show. And just a note, Fantasy Cruncher does not come with that, but you can very easily add it at checkout. So do that because it's a fantastic tool. We also have high stakes ownership projections for NBA, which will help you out if you're entering high stakes. Do that as well. If that's not your cup of tea, it should be. But if it's not, you should sign up at our sponsor, Prize Picks. You can use the promo code Awesemo there, get a $100 first match deposit bonus. You don't have to worry about sharks or optimizers or mass entry or anything like that. Basically making up to 5-player lineups, 5-player parlay card, taking over-unders on everything. You can do it across sports. Adam, do you know they have disc golf on Prize Picks?
Only because you mention it every time we do a show.
That is the second time that I've said it ever in my life. Yesterday was the first, and we didn't do the show together.
Maybe it's Greg. I don't know. Somebody's mentioned it multiple times.
I had no idea. I saw it yesterday for the first time. So if you like Paul McBeth under 59.5, you could do that.
Poor man's Greg hosting the show with me this morning.
Ouch. That stings. That stings. I can't. That breaks my heart a little bit. But you can take a disc golf prop, take an over under, add that to a couple NBA ones that you like. There you go. You're going to be right where you need to be. I'm going to hit Adam with one or two props from the Dallas side of this one. How are you feeling? We're going to go straight to the main man from Dallas. How do you feel about over under 30.5 real points for Luka Doncic?
It's about where I have him. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like on these guys, you're probably looking for the guy that you think can step into a slightly bigger role. Spencer Dinwiddie is at 12.5. That I lean towards the under there, but with game 2, if you told me that he played 32 minutes today, like that wouldn't shock me either because they kind of need to fix something.
Yeah, I mean, if I give him 28 minutes, it gets him to 12.5.
Yeah.
And I do think the 28 minutes is like where I'll project him. He certainly could play more, but I do think that's a pretty solid line. If I had to go one way or the other, I would actually take the under there, I guess. Just because, he could play fewer minutes.
Yeah. Maxey, over under 7 points. That's a spot where I would like to take the over. I'd like to hope that he could just be out there more.
These lines are really efficient. I have Maxey 26 minutes, 7.1 points.
I mean, they should be. Like,
yeah, but
there's only so many places you could put Maxey's line right now.
Yeah, but normally there's a couple that are just like glaring.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. You got to probably dig into the points, rebounds, assists.
I like the over on Brunson. Points
over on 17.5 for Brunson. Yeah, so do I because I've got him at 21.
Yeah,
so probably should have pointed that one out immediately. Those are just some of the picks that you guys can get at Prize Picks. So highly recommend you check it out and use that promo code Awesemo when you sign up. Let's just take a quick peek at Golden State. Again, I'm with you. I'm assuming
defense. What?
I mean, yeah, in that. I mean, that's not like why he plays, but
yeah, I was just saying like he gets more anyway as long as he doesn't foul. But like that's they want him on the floor regardless.
Yeah, they just want him to play as many, like, they want him to play 30 minutes if he can or more.
Yeah, he just needs to not foul.
Yeah, for both reasons, offense and defense. Floor spacing and, I don't know. Well, they don't have any other real defense.
Yeah, the spacing is the big part, I think.
I'm really curious to see what they do in the offseason. If they could, like, turn Tim Hardaway into something. Because they need another guy somewhere. They have to bring Brunson back now. They don't really have much of a choice. I think they could have got out of that if they didn't make this run, but now I think you just got to bring him back and hope that you could trade him down the line if you need to, or keep him if he continues to be good. Like that's
hopefully
fine too.
I would think from their standpoint, they're hoping they can turn Dinwiddie into something with this playoff run.
Yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, I think they would probably like to turn both guys into like slightly different options, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but I think Brunson's actually good. I think Dinwiddie is less actually good.
I do too. I just think he's like miscast a bit.
Yeah.
Like he's never going to be able to be what you see when Luke is not there to like a large degree. And I don't know if he wants that, but we'll find out. How are you separating some of the main guys from Golden State today? Clay, Wiggins, Draymond. I guess we could lump Poole into this. Looney's at 4,800 today, played massive minutes in game one. Well, massive minutes for Looney, that is, in game one. Any of those guys stand out because they look real similar?
Yeah, they do. So the one issue that I had, and I mentioned it last game too, and I've mentioned it a lot. Clay obviously has a really high ceiling, but if he's going to get the same ownership, give or take, as Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green, I would just rather go to those guys because they're less expensive. They contribute peripherals. Clay is extremely scoring dependent. He can give you those big games, but he's more likely to just fall off of a cliff from a fantasy standpoint in any given game. And he's getting the same ownership at a more expensive price tag. So I don't like Clay as much as I like those guys at that ownership. I do like the playing time we got from Looney. I wasn't really sure what we were going to see there because obviously he played 35 minutes in the final game of the Memphis series. He was in he moved into the starting lineup. Draymond had lobbied for that. I figured he was going to start again last game, but I didn't know what the playing time would look like. I thought he'd still go back to like 20 to 22 minutes. So the fact he did play 28 minutes, he played really well again. I think that you probably get, like, I'm certainly projecting him a little bit higher than I did last game. I'm not going like 20 minutes again after what we saw in game one. So
Yeah.
it does make me continue to like Looney at what I think is a pretty respectable $4,800 price tag.
Yeah, I think I wasn't I didn't know where that was going to break with Looney out there. We've seen Luka, and I don't want to say struggle because that is not going to be the word, but if you can be quick enough on your retreats and quick enough laterally, he's going to have more trouble with a bigger body that he cannot immediately go straight through. And it seems like Looney has enough to be able to handle that. And I think I gave him 26 minutes, at which point I think he looks pretty good. Like I have him ahead of Draymond. I have him ahead of Clay. Now, again, this is in 26 minutes. He needs every minute that he's like, I need him to play those 26 minutes. But after game one, I expect him to be out there barring any sort of foul trouble. It seemed to work.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what their alternative is otherwise. Let's say Looney gets into foul trouble. Do you think we're getting Kuminga or Bjelica?
Kuminga.
Okay. That's my assumption as well.
I'm not super confident in that.
That's my assumption as well. I can see them wanting to go to Bjelica from an offense perspective if Kuminga just can't handle it defensively. Because if he's not out there for the defense, then it's not going to matter any longer.
Right.
Like then take the space. Really tricky. Really tricky.
So and this is unrelated, and I'm not even like totally disagreeing with the point in chat. Michael Roundtree said the Dinwiddie Porzingis trade seems to be working out nice for Dallas. Dinwiddie's been fine. I'm really you keep seeing that take on Twitter and everything about how like, oh, this ended up being great. Do people think Kristaps Porzingis couldn't average 24 minutes per game, 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists in the postseason or something? Like, I'm extremely like I get it. Dinwiddie's been fine and he's had his games, but like there's people acting like, and I'm not saying Michael Roundtree's won, but like there's people acting like this was some huge win for Dallas somehow, where like Dinwiddie is propelling them in ways Porzingis couldn't.
Yeah, like let's be very clear here. Kristaps Porzingis is better than Spencer Dinwiddie.
Right. Yeah, like I said,
I don't know if that makes Dallas better or worse.
Right, you can talk about the fit, but like it's not like Dinwiddie's out there doing like a ton. Like he's had a couple of good games, but he's also been shit in plenty of these games.
Yeah. I don't like, to me that trade is probably just a wash.
I think it worked out for both teams. The Porzingis Luka fit wasn't great. I don't know if it was a personal thing or a whatever. Like I still think it should have been better. As a Washington fan, like they're not going anywhere with either player, but there is at least some chance that Porzingis does just finally turn into the superstar that he could be. And like Washington's only chance at being good until Bradley Beal retires is to get some random dude to turn into a superstar that they're not expecting. So like Dinwiddie's not that guy. Porzingis could be at least. So like and like you said, he's better than Dinwiddie. So like from the Washington standpoint, absolutely love it. It gives you a higher ceiling. It gives you the better player.
Yeah.
From the Dallas standpoint, you can talk about the fit and all that, but like people are just like, you know, because people were really strongly against the deal for Dallas when it happened, and so now it's people like victory lapping, like, oh, see, Dinwiddie is blah blah blah. It's like he's averaging 12 points a game. What in 24 minutes? Like, why are we acting like Porzingis couldn't have done this?
Yeah. The problem with Porzingis in this season, he shot 31% from three.
Right.
If you're going to keep him out on the 3-point line and he can't make a damn shot, it doesn't matter any longer. Like, he shot 38% from three last year and was still, obviously exceptional around the rim. That's a difference maker. If he's shooting 31% from three, you're not getting all of the value that you're looking for any longer. It's Spencer Dinwiddie is not the reason they've been propelled to the Western Conference Finals. Like, we're watching a different game then. I'm into oh God, I'm so curious in Dallas's offseason. Any interest in Damian Lee today? There's a question you won't hear a lot. Wait, what did you say?
I said just a wonderful take from Daryl Ward here on Porzingis. He is not good at all. He's tall.
I mean, that is just that's a take for you. That's a take for you. Let's see. Where do I have him? If you take a blend of EPM, Rapham, and Raptor, and you assume Kristaps Porzingis plays 2,000 minutes, which, could be a bit of a stretch. That's a 6.5 win player, which is basically like a little over $20 million a year as a player. Is he overpaid? Probably by a little bit. But, I mean, we're talking about a no doubt about it playoff starter. Like, I don't know how we go any direction other than that. He's just tall.
Adam gets so defensive over the Wizards. Dinwiddie sucks, but didn't you just say Dallas would like to flip him based on this current playoff run? Yes, I'm sure Dallas would like to take the fact that Dinwiddie shot well in a couple of nationally televised games and give him to another team.
What I think Dallas wants to do is be able to trade two separate pieces instead of one big Kristaps Porzingis.
Right. It's easier to move off of a bad Dinwiddie contract and a bad Bertans contract than it is just the Porzingis contract.
Correct. Yeah,
and I'm not defensive about Washington. I think they suck.
Yeah.
It's more so that, or not even suck. Like, they're just in purgatory, and they have been ever since John Wall and Otto Porter and Bradley Beal. Like, but no, it's more so that, like, the people's takes on this trade. Like, I strongly disagree with how bad people apparently think Kristaps Porzingis is.
Yeah, so do I, because he's not. He's just not. And I mean, if you think Reggie Bullock, Dub K, if you think Reggie Bullock is one of the worst starters in the playoffs, you're missing what's good in the playoffs here. Every single team would want Reggie Bullock to start for them.
If Reggie Bullock started for the Jazz, Rudy Gobert would not have problems playing defense.
Yeah, if you turn, it's not going to be, if you just turned Mike Conley into Reggie Bullock, it's a dramatic change for the Jazz. You get a wing defender that can knock down threes. It changes the entire shape of the team. You need guys that don't have to be 30% usage guys out on the floor. You need guys that play their role. It's why everybody wants to have, or at least wanted to have, Danny Green over and over and over again. You want a guy that can play defense and shoot the ball and just shut up about it. Like, it's incredibly valuable at the highest levels of the playoffs. We see it every single year. $1,600 Damian Lee. Thoughts?
Price bump kind of sucks because he's not the best point per minute guy. He played 12 minutes total, including garbage time. Played basically 5.5 minutes in that game. Right now, the ownership is at 18%. I get it. I would really like to avoid that if I can.
Ooh, you just said ownership. When did that go up?
5 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago.
Okay, 14 minutes ago.
I don't know. I'm making up numbers.
Okay, I knew I hadn't seen. I knew I hadn't seen it. We got a couple minutes yet before we get out of here. Anything that stands out to you glaringly from the ownership right now?
So at the bottom end, it all makes sense to me. Like Lee, Ntilikina, Powell, Bertans all getting similar ownership. Bertans is the lowest of that group, which makes me like him the most as a value. Dinwiddie at 19% stands out just because, kind of like we had talked about, he at least, like if he plays well, he can get his way in the 30 minutes. Dallas would like him to play a role offensively at least. So he does have some upside there. I think that, so I think he's kind of interesting at that price, or at that ownership, I should say. Other than that, and I talked about Clay, I think being a bit overowned here relative to like Wiggins and Draymond.
Okay. Can you imagine if there were actually hundreds of guys in the G League and overseas that could play basketball the same way that Kristaps Porzingis could and better, and all 30 NBA teams are just sitting on their hands, not scooping up these better than Kristaps Porzingis players? The whole league is missing this. Every single team.
I mean,
these guys are freely available. They can sign them for basically nothing.
Teams just aren't looking hard enough for 7'3" wing rim protectors that can space the floor. They just don't realize how valuable that is.
That's the dumbest thing that's ever been in chat. Unquestionably. Hundreds. There's not one in the G League. Not a single one. He'd be in the damn NBA. What are we talking about here? Whoo! That is bold, man. That is legitimately bold. Hundreds internationally. I mean, we're just, like maybe Victor Wembanyama is. That's a true statement. I think we just hit the end of the list.
You're an idiot because you don't know how many countries there are.
That's incredible. Okay. All right. Here's my next question for you. Not too much left. This is a FanDuel question. We have the ownership. Now, I think this is going to end up getting adjusted up. This was something that we had a conversation about. I think it was 2 years ago now. Luka is in 73% of lineups in our FanDuel ownership. It's basically all MVP, no sign of him in star, pro, or utility. If you knew those were the numbers, is Luka in every single lineup you do? Do you try to get different, putting him in star and pro?
I mean, pro is tough because who the hell are you putting? What two players are you putting ahead of him?
Two of the Warriors, like Poole, Clay, something like, or Steph.
Yeah, but how do they both beat Luka together? How do they both beat Luka and you still want Luka? Because the answer to how do they both beat Luka is Luka's arm falls off or something, and then he leaves the game.
Sure. Like when it came out of my sim, like I had a flatter spread. Like I had more to star and more to pro.
I mean, obviously I haven't crunched anything, so I would take what you just said over what I'm saying, but I just don't understand like logically how it makes any sense.
Like I got to 11% at pro, which is dramatic. Makes me feel like something's wrong, but
4x the field.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
I mean, I feel like I would just play more of him at MVP, honestly. Which is why FanDuel's Showdown product sucks. But
okay, so I'm gonna look at, because obviously the sim that I'm running is like context independent. Like these are just, somebody's got a projection and a standard deviation, and they're not really correlated to each other. So here's what I have on here. You tell me like how feasible you think this actually is. I just sorted down. I got 58 different lineups with Luka in the pro spot. First, the highest projected one that I had was Steph and Poole, which feels hard. Steph and Brunson. I can't wait to see your face when I say this one out loud. Steph and Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah, your shit's broken.
The other two are then Maxey and Jordan Poole. I want to see. Let's see. That's lineup number 75. So the good thing about
how is Maxey and Jordan Poole beating Luka?
Okay, so that was lineup 72. Oh God, I already lost it. Lineup 75, did I say? I can like the projections that were used in that lineup exist for me. So I could see like what they corrected to see how it happened. Okay, so that would have been, lineup number 75. So it's Curry, Finney-Smith, Luka, Maxey, Poole. So Luka ended up with 76.7. So that's 64. That seems impossible. What the hell did the rest of these guys do? I don't think this is showing up the correct way. Poole. Oh, there's Dorian Finney-Smith star. So Dorian Finney-Smith then would have to put up, what's that, 1.5 in the star. So Dorian Finney-Smith would have to go for north of 40. Seems reasonable. Steph in this scenario went for some sort of dramatic amount. Yeah, into the 60s. Feels off.
Okay, so I don't understand though why, if Finney-Smith goes for 40 and Luka goes for 60, how is Finney-Smith at the second spot better? Because the price doesn't change.
That's a good point. I don't know why. I don't have an answer to that. I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, I think your calculator might be wrong. Like not.
I feel like I have the wrong multiplier.
Right.
So
I was saying I feel like
point.
you have like something in your thing.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I'm gonna have to try to find one of the hundreds of people that are better than Kristaps Porzingis to try to help me out on that one. Anything else we're missing on this slate?
People that are better than you at Excel, I got you.
That's a good point. If they those guys probably are out there. You're not that person, but those people are out there for sure. Is there anything else we need to touch on? I do want to talk about the schedule for the rest of the day. Coming up next, immediately after this MLB strategy show, we've got MLB Live Before Lock at 5:45. We've got the NBA Deeper Dive at 7, NBA Live Before Lock at 8. We've got free content as well. NBA ownership, MLB player rankings, NHL top stacks, and UFC pro plays. Who the hell is on the UFC card this week? Main event of, Holly Holm and Ketlin Vieira. Go ahead and don't watch that. Watch our shows. Don't watch the card.
Can't be more frustrating than last week's main event.
What was the blown knee?
Yeah.
All righty. Anything else you want to touch on here?
There was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember what it was, so probably wasn't that important.
Did we miss your super chats?
Oh, that's what it was. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. I'm scrolling. I still don't see it.
Yeah, it was from like a long time ago.
I don't know what that. Throw it up where? What screen? Got it. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Are you playing that at all?
I played it the first day, and then I just decided I was over it and not playing anymore. Yeah, so I mean, I haven't even seen pricing for.
Yeah, I don't. It's not something.
I mean, from a just very quick touching on it standpoint, if I were playing, $7,100 BAM would trip me up again. Butler and Tatum are the same price, basically. Yeah, I mean, Bam looks like the most underpriced guy, but that's also accounting for Bam, at least to some extent, not being the corpse that he has been so far this postseason. From like a strategy standpoint, I don't really have anything. Like, you're not, although we have been getting late injury news this postseason, you're not really expecting that. So I don't think there's any sort of real advantage to being like, oh, well, I'll just, take more guys from the Boston Miami game or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be playing it pretty much straight up, just the way I normally play a basketball slate.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm approaching any differently. Wish I could help.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and so I mean, to some extent, and again, I haven't. Maybe it's out there. I don't know what the official status on Lowry is right now. I don't know what the official status on Derek White is. So maybe there does actually end up being some injury news that you're waiting on. But
I assume White's playing.
Yeah, I assume he's playing, and then Lowry. They keep saying he's getting close, but he also keeps being ruled out really early. So I don't know.
Well, there we go, everybody. Thank you for being here. Make sure you're watching everything else that we do, and hit that like button. 64 is not nearly enough. We should be up over 100. Enjoy everything else we've got going on. MLB strategy show coming up next. Good luck tonight, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and go Liverpool and go Aston Villa.